Why can't I fast?
Hello there in Internetland. This is the F1 Chat, episode 4 of the 2024 season. Because I am a smooth operator. Smooth operator. Yeah, as you can tell, we just watched the Australian Formula One races. I'm clearing my throat after singing Smooth Operation. From Melbourne, the track that was modified by Herman Tilke, but the Australian Formula One Commission does not want to acknowledge that they worked with Herman Tilke on approving one corner of the track. I'm your host, Phil Lamington. Seated to my left is a man who he is equally as happy as I am because his boys at McLaren did all right on the day. It's JB. JB, how are you?
Yeah, no, it was good. It was good. It was good to see the boys in Papaya up there. I mean, I sort of wish it was Oscar on the podium, but I'll take it. Third and fourth.
Well, it was like, because we were watching it here in the Dungeon studio at Pipe Bomb Studios, and we're sitting here eating a really amazing Pizza Hut pizza.
That was a very good Pizza Hut pizza.
And a Hershey's cookie.
It was a very good Hershey's cookie.
Watching Ferrari 1-2 and McLaren 3-4.
It was a good day.
With not a Mercedes in sight, and a Max Verstappen that had bits exploding on his car. And I think I turned to you and said, this is a perfect day.
It was a good day.
It was a good day at the office.
It was a good day.
Unfortunately, someone who was unable to attend watching the race with us on Sunday, purely because Williams didn't have a spare chassis for him to attend, and it's Longhorn. How are you, my friend?
Oh, not as great as you two guys. I'm kind of glad I was at work and not here because, Williams aren't quite the smooth operators. They're more of an Excel operator.
Yeah, they certainly excel at something.
Insert Windows 95 dial tone here. Just downloading the file. It should be ready in 17 days.
It's the most pixelated fucking video I've ever watched in my life.
I'm going to plug the phone back in at some point.
I want to order a damn pizza.
Don't you dare plug the landline back in until I say so. Typical Williams, they probably still have a landline too, the way they run.
They're probably still trying to figure out what colour that dress is. Is it gold and white, or is it, they've only just come up on their page.
They're on the way to
just
Area
loaded.
51 for the invasion. They're running Internet Explorer. It's like 8 years out of date.
I was sitting here thinking they're using phones with the circular thing.
Where's Juan Pablo Montoya? He's still on our driver list.
Senna's still alive.
Has anyone seen Ant? He's been awfully quiet lately. Haven't seen that Brazilian ladder out for a while. Where'd he get to?
Oh, gosh.
What time is Alan Jones coming in? He won the world title last year, didn't he?
Just updating the books. Nigel Mansell? Where are you?
Oh,
You might as well start singing the Indian version of the Scooby-Doo theme there.
Are we
Scooby-Doo.
Are we still paying Frank and Claire?
And Patrick Head. Do we still have Adrian Newey designing the car?
Where did that steering rod get to?
We're still running Renault engines, right?
Camel? They still make cigarettes.
Canon sponsorship.
Canon sponsorship.
Rothmans, they're still around, right? Right? Oh, we've just crapped all over Williams.
They deserve it.
They do ask, after watching that video on the race, which we'll talk about later.
We'll get to it.
Yeah.
I have to say, I take offence to your comment there, JB, because though Williams, the car, the company, is a complete cluster, they're still managing to outdo Alpine.
For all the dog shit that team is in, they're like the 7th worst team.
It's kind of amazing, really,
Alpine
isn't it?
and RB and Kick Sauber are all worse than Williams. in spite of everything.
Well, I don't know about RB right now, but... So, we watched the Melbourne Grand Prix. Personal bias aside, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yep, it got a 4-star rating on the race vote for the first time this year. For the first time in a long time, a race got more than a 3-star rating. Actually, ironically, the last race to get a 4-star rating was Singapore last year. That Carlos Sainz also won. So there you go.
And let me guess, the last race before that to get a 4-star rating was Abu Dhabi 2021.
Well, I gave that a 5-star rating, to be honest.
6 stars if that's
What are you,
possible.
Dave fucking Meltzer? Your fucking 5-star rating at the Tokyo Dome. Fuck you.
It was a great race. The last 5 laps were amazing.
It actually feels like Formula 1 started now. Like, I always feel like when we start in the Middle East, it's not really Formula 1. It's more just these showcase races that are kind of part of it. And then we start getting to the tracks. Even though this isn't a track, it's more of a street circuit. It's still a Formula 1 icon
Bahrain's
location.
a
You know what I
track.
mean?
No, but
Yeah, but
Bahrain's not a street circuit.
I know it's not, but I'm just like... What I was saying is I just feel like a lot of those Middle Eastern races are more spectacles than... And Bahrain to me just feels like the test track. That's what it should just be, the test track.
well, I know where you're going with this. What you, if you allow me to paraphrase what you're saying, like they're the Saudi tracks, so they're for the rich Saudi people. This
the
race,
investors.
yeah, this race feels more like it's for the Australian people.
Oh, it feels like for the people of F1, not even just the Australian. Just
Oh, yeah, there were
it's the people,
450,000 across 3 days.
Exactly.
Like,
This feels like an event that anyone who loves Formula 1 can go to.
Yeah.
F1's popularity in Melbourne is like at its peak right now. Like
Oh, I
in
mean, we've
spite
got
of everything.
3 Aussie drivers on the grid at the moment. It's a
Yeah.
great time for Formula 1.
Do you see the video of the main grandstand when Max bowed out? Everyone's just cheering.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
I think that's purely because we just wanted to see someone else other than Max Verstappen win the race.
Well, I mean, you watch the video from 2021 Abu Dhabi from the Star Casino in Sydney.
yeah,
Everyone's cheering when Max passes Lewis. Like,
It's not hate
It's
towards
not
Max.
hate,
It's
it's
just literally
just-
like, yay, we
it's
don't
like,
get to watch him win.
something else it's going to be different.
Yeah, that's all it was. That's
Because
all it was.
3 laps into the race and Max was already like 4 seconds ahead of Carlos. It was like it was becoming that again.
but the thing was, and a lot of people were saying this, like analysts and that, were saying that the Red Bull was actually harder on its tyres than the Ferrari, and that the Ferrari would have actually caught the Red Bull because, like, while the Red Bull has got more straight line speed, it was just chewing up its tyres.
I still don't think they would have caught Max. I mean, I agree with that was evident because that's why Perez was down in 5th. But for whatever reason, I feel like Max would have overcome that somehow. He's just that good a driver.
But it does show that there is a kink in the armour.
Yeah, which is good. We haven't seen one for a very long time.
So I think
They were due.
This year might actually be a rather competitive year between Ferrari and Red Bull.
Hopefully.
Well, let's not count our chickens before they hatch.
No. I mean, you've got this is the third race of the season so far, and we've had 2 Max Verstappens and a Carlos Sainz.
Yes.
We've still got 21 races to go.
Yes,
So
but Max
it's-
didn't
it's-
finish the race. Like,
Yeah.
if Max had finished the race, if Carlos had legitimately beaten Max, you could start getting excited. But he didn't legitimately beat Max.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll find out. We don't have long to wait till Japan. But anyway,
Speaking of getting excited, Longhorns excited to get on with the F2 report. So here it is.
Yes, the F2 report from Melbourne, Australia, because we race there now in the F2, which is
Woohoo.
awesome. Because it actually created some really great racing this weekend for the sprint race and the feature race. So we'll start off with our pole. We had Dennis Hauger taking pole, which is a good weekend for him, as I'll get into. We start with our sprint race. And what a way to start. Lap 1. Pepe Marti was shunted into Bortoletto off the start as Hadjar cut across, making Marti swerve into Bortoletto, who had a poor start. So Bortoletto didn't get away very quickly. Marti went to the left, got a great start, actually. Went to the overtake, and Hadjar just literally cut across the track and pushed Marti straight into Bortoletto. So literally off the start, bang, safety car. So
yeah, that was crazy.
yeah, F2 off to a proper F2 start. So that was a good way to start.
F2 is F2ing again.
Yeah.
It's like an online lobby.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Lap 7, Zane Maloney, the championship leader, lost it into turn 6 and went in the grass, dropping from 4th to 10th. Lap 10, Kimi Antonelli loses the rear going into... I didn't quite get the turn he went into, but he caused Vershaw to veer off the road as well as he braked too hard trying to avoid Antonelli, and they both spun themselves out of the race, causing a safety car. So, another one. So, good start F2. Lap 15, Paul Aaron loses traction into the gravel, turning in turn 6, dropping out of the points. Lots of drivers struggling with turn 6 this weekend.
Yeah, a lot.
Not just George Russell having a bad time there. The F2 drivers didn't have much fun there either. Lap 22, and Dennis Hauger overtakes Kushmani for the final podium place, getting P3. And the final podium places for the sprint race was Isaac Hadjar taking the win, Roman Stanek 2, Dennis Hauger 3rd. But yet again this year in F2, Isaac Hadjar received a post-race 10-second penalty for his lap 1 incident, as I explained earlier, causing Marty to swerve into Bortoletto. So he got a 10-second penalty, which bumped up Roman Stanek to the win, promoting Hauger to P2, and Kushmani getting the final podium place in P3. So I don't know why it took him the entire race to figure that one out, but yeah, that's probably a
typical FIA.
Yeah, pretty harsh way to probably lose your win. But as we'll get into, that didn't dampen his weekend too much. Now we get to the feature race, where we have lap 1, the sprint race winner. Roman Stanek loses his Trident into turn 3, dropping to the back of the grid. So not a great feature race for him after getting his best result ever in the sprint. Towards the end of lap 1, though, we had Kimi Antonelli making a great move to get past race leader Dennis Hauger to take the lead. But that didn't last too long, as in lap 2, Dennis Hauger retakes the lead from Antonelli down the straight using DRS. Lap 5, Pepe Marte goes off track briefly, opening the door for Kushmani to take 5th, who went on a bit of a steamer here, as the next few laps he passed Richard Vershaw for 4th. Then on the same lap, he took Zane Maloney going into 3rd, who Maloney kind of went on the grass a little bit, opening the door for Marnie. Marnie at this time as well was running the mediums, while most of the front runners were running super softs, so the mediums seemed to be the tyre of choice to start the race. So as those super softs were just eating themselves up too quickly. Lap 7, Dirksen and Zach O'Sullivan touched wheels at the back of the field, sending Dirksen to the grass and out of the race, but who cares? They were running in nowhere. Lap 7, Kushmani passes Antonelli for 2nd, showcasing that the medium tyre was the choice of the race, as all the super soft runners were fading, as I just was saying. Lap 9, and Marnie takes the lead from Hauger, who was also running on the super softs. Lap 10, unfortunately, this is where Hauger's weekend didn't get too great. Hauger lost it into the dreaded turn 6, hitting the wall and ending his race, causing safety car. Lap 18, Antonelli touches the grass slightly, but manages to save it and continue in the race, now running in P8, having pitted while the cars in front hadn't pitted yet. So we had the front runners had made their pit stop, and then a bunch of cars tried to go long, hoping for another safety car, which was probably not a bad bet in F2 in the way the weekend was going.
To be honest.
Yeah. We had heaps of cars battling this weekend, so if anyone's into the F2, go watch this weekend, both sprint race
they were
and
good
feature.
races.
It was a great race, so my report's not doing it justice, so go and watch it. And then we get to lap 31, where Kushmani and Zach Crawford, who hadn't pitted but were running in P1 and P2, unfortunately had to now pit. They didn't quite get the safety car opportunity they were hoping for. They pitted to change their tyres as their mandatory pit stop, and that dropped them out of the points in their P1, P2. Which takes us to lap 33, where Isaac Hadjar, who, as I said earlier, unfortunately got disqualified for his race win in the sprint race, takes the checkered flag here. So he gets the win in the feature race, with Paul Aaron taking P2 and championship leader Zane Maloney taking P3. And that went to... Then we went to 4th, with Kimi and Antonelli taking 4th. In 5th, we had Rio Miata. 6th, Richard Vershaw. 7th, Jose Villagomez. 8th, Victor Martins. 9th, Oliver Behrman, who didn't have a great weekend this weekend in the F2. He seems better off in a Formula 1 car.
Yeah.
And in 10th, we had Zach Crawford. And then I'll just get to the championship standings, where after 3 races, we still have Zane Maloney in the lead with 62 points. In 2nd, we have Paul Aaron with 47 points. 3rd, we have Dennis Hauger with 41 points. Fourth, after a great weekend, we have Isaac Hadjar with 34 points. Kushmani is in fifth with 33 points. Enzo Fittipaldi is in sixth with 32 points. Pepe Marti is in seventh for 26 points. Zach Crawford is in eighth for 26 points. Kimi Anatelli is in ninth for 24 points. And rounding out the top 10 is Rio Miata with 16 points. And that is the F2 from Melbourne 2024.
Right.
Excellent bit of racing.
That was. There's one thing I want to mention too before we move on, is that a certain racing organisation is not happy that they got bumped from their traditional spot over the weekend in favour of the F2 and the F3.
Well, the certain racing organisation go fuck itself.
Well, that certain racing organisation certainly has been fucking itself since Holden pulled out and they replaced it with a Chevrolet.
Yes.
Yeah. They've been going in the wrong direction for a number of years now.
And they keep...
You think 450,000 people are going to rock up to Albert Park to watch the Supercars?
Not anymore.
Not a chance.
Not when there's no Australian cars in it. There's no Holden in it, so it's an American brand versus an American brand.
Which isn't the first time that that's happened in Australian motorsport, but
when it's supposed to be Australian supercars, but it's an American Mustang versus an American Camaro.
Yes.
The golden years where we were Ford and Holden, they were both made here. That was the golden years.
And at this point, if they swapped over to running fucking Toyota and Hyundai, they'd be more Australian.
It'd somehow be more Australian.
It would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would.
But the thing is, they got so many issues, like this Erebus shit with Brody Kostecki.
Yeah, holy shit, that's still not rectified.
What is
Your defending champion isn't racing because of some fucking standoff between him and his boss. I don't know the whole story. I've been told the story, but it sort of confused me a little bit.
Yeah, it's...
So yeah, you're defending champion. It's like Max Verstappen not driving in Formula 1.
Yeah.
Because he fucking doesn't like Christian Horner. Which
Hey,
almost happened.
It's happening at the moment,
Which,
kind of.
to be fair, sort of nearly happened. But I mean, imagine if it actually happened.
Yeah.
Like, imagine Max Verstappen just not rocking up this year because he's got the shits on with his boss.
It'd be crazy.
And then you've got the entire of that sport. Every week, someone's complaining about how they want parity between the cars.
Yeah,
Like,
it's not parity.
well, someone either needs to make a better aero package or make a better engine.
Yeah.
Like, it's not rocket surgery.
Yeah, look. I mean, Supercars is going to rock up to that next round at... Is it Eastern Creek or Barbagallo? But whatever. They're going to have fucking 27 people there.
Yeah.
And they're going to fucking realise why they got bumped.
Yeah.
we might be able to get into this later, but do you guys see the V8 Supercars actually lasting? I kind of feel like it's going to fizzle out.
I watched Supercars religiously from 1998 to probably as late as about 2016.
Yeah.
Like religiously. I wouldn't miss a race. And now it's to the point where I'm only watching Bathurst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even that is...
I feel like that almost
I feel like the
might
identity
become
of the identity of the sport, and we've said this on previous podcasts, was beginning to wane. And I think even go through any Supercars Facebook page, go through any of the comments section, and the fans are starting to turn on it.
Yeah.
They don't like the product anymore. They don't like the drivers. They don't like... the racing's all right, but it's not what it was. And I don't think there's any way back at this point.
Yeah, that's what it feels like to me, yeah.
So the fact that it got bumped from its traditional support category to fourth on the grid...
Makes sense.
I mean, you've only got yourself to blame.
Yeah. And I mean, I think they need a change in management at V8 Supercars, or Australian Supercars.
Yeah.
One person put a comment up which I thought was really telling, which was Australian Supercars can't complain about being bumped down the grid order at the Australian F1. I mean, it's not like the people who are in charge of Australian Supercars made much of an effort to try and keep Mercedes, Volvo and Nissan on their grid.
Yeah.
They were so focused on Holden and Ford, they just let everything else fuck off. I mean, when...
You were bringing back... you were going to go to like V6 turbos. You were going to do all this shit.
And it didn't
and you didn't do anything. And now you're stagnated with these two American brands that no one gives a fuck about, drivers that no one really gives a fuck about. Like, if it's not Bathurst, no one's watching.
It's almost like the drivers have no personality of their own anymore. They're just very cardboard cutout people.
I mean, when you compare Supercars to Formula One, it's incredibly Bush League.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's always been Bush League, but it feels like, even back in the, when you had Marcus Ambrose versus Mark Scaife and Greg Murphy, Russell Ingall, all those guys, they all had personalities. They all seemed like they were celebrities within our country.
I was going to say, it felt like at that time, though, I know what you're saying, like it's always kind of been a Bush League, but I felt like at that time they gave the sport a bit of...
It had some glamour.
Yeah, it had some glamour to it, like
Supercars
Formula 1.
was a must-watch.
It was like around the world almost, you had to watch.
There was that one year where they went to the China track, they went to Bahrain. There was a year where they started, I think the first 2 races were Bahrain and Shanghai.
Yeah.
The Grand Prix tracks, and then they... they came back, but there was a time where Supercars was worth watching and worth investing, and the drivers were personalities and borderline celebrities. That's all going by the wayside rather rapidly. So the fact that,
I mean, all throughout the country, you'd have flags, Holden or Ford. Where I grew up in Adelaide, I grew up around the corner from the Holden factory.
Oh, yeah, that would have been...
So Holden was massive down where I'm from. And down there, it was... especially growing up in the 90s and the early noughties, was everyone had flags out the front. When we come round to Bathurst, people drive around with flags on their car. You were Ford or Holden. There was a proper rivalry.
And I know that Ford, we could say that Ford's an American brand, but at the time it was being built in Australia.
Yeah.
The Falcons were Australian. That was an Australian brand.
Yeah.
Ford was an Australian brand. The Falcons were Australian-made cars. There was the Ford factory in Melbourne, the Holden factory in Adelaide, and that's just how it was. And that's when the sport was at its peak, when 200,000 people are going to Bathurst every year.
I think it's incredibly sad that we don't make cars in Australia anymore, and I feel like the only way we're going to save supercars is if we get some kind of billionaire who's already got the money to get it started, creates a car brand here that specialises in a car that they can turn into a supercar car, and that becomes the one car that races. You know what I mean? So you don't have a rival anymore, but you have an Australian car racing, if that makes sense.
Well, what I'd like to see is, like, some billionaire, as you said, buy the Holden name back off GM and work out a deal where you sub-license Holden from GM, like, run their fucking engine. And apparently the Camaro chassis was just a tweaked Holden Commodore chassis anyway.
Which they're retiring from racing as well. So I don't know what they're replacing it with.
So
the current Camaro chassis is being retired, I think, in 2 years.
Yeah, because...
So even that's going by the wayside now.
Yeah, because GM is not continuing manufacturing the Camaro.
Yeah.
I think they stop next year.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's dying. I mean... As I said, there was once a time the Holden Commodore and the Ford Falcon. Yes, Ford itself is an American brand, but the Falcon was Australian-made. Yeah, 2 Australian-made cars going at it. Those times have passed.
And the sad thing about it is that you look around cars now, and everyone's either driving a Toyota Prado or a Hyundai or a Kia.
Everyone's driving an i30, man. Everyone. There's so many of them.
Or a Great Wall.
Yeah, shit.
And the amount of people driving a proper Ford or proper Holden,
you don't see them anymore.
Dwindling.
Man, you have a look, man. My eyes perk up every time I see an FG Falcon drive past because you don't see them anymore.
But I mean, it's not just the Falcon and the Commodore that are gone. We've lost the Gemini. Yeah. We've lost the Escort.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All
the GTHOs, the Tiranas. Go back as far as you want. Like, those cars were Australian-made cars as far back as the 70s.
And it's funny, too, just thinking about it, because V8 Supercars, back when it was called V8 Supercars, and they were courting Mercedes, Nissan, and Volvo. Even though Volvo was owned by Ford, so you're basically putting 2 different branded Fords on the track. And I think Mercedes showed up with a car that was running them. No, it was Nissan that showed up with a
Nissan
car.
showed up with a Land Cruiser motor or something.
Yeah.
It was like the block from a V8 Land Cruiser because the Ultima isn't a V8 car.
No.
It's a V6.
But the other brands they were courting at the time were Dodge and Ferrari. I mean, imagine Ferrari being at V8 supercars in Australia.
That would look very out of place.
But it would also bring eyes on the subject of sitting there going, well, Ferrari's in V8 supercars. Like, that we've upped our game a bit, you know?
You remember the old Bathurst 24-hour races?
Yeah.
Where it was like, it was the Holden Commodore and the Ford Falcon versus the world?
Yep.
That's what supercars needed to be.
Yeah.
You'd have 24-hour race, but the BMWs are coming over, the Mercedes are coming over. I think the Commodore actually, the last 24-hour race I watched, the Commodore actually did win it. But, I mean, you had everyone from everywhere. All the European cars came over. You had some Mustangs come over. Like, it was Australia versus the world, and that's definitely gone by the wayside as well.
Yeah. It's just a sad thing for the Australian icon to be falling apart.
Yeah, well, I mean, but I don't think supercars can bemoan being bumped because it's just not the sport it was.
It's not the spectacle it used to be.
Even its own fans is turning against it. So what do you expect?
The few fans it does have still.
Yeah, exactly.
But the opposite is a sport that does have a lot of fans at the moment. That is the F1.
That is booming.
And that is the F1. So we're going to hand it over to JB with the F1 report.
450,000 through the gate over 3 days and 150,000 on race day. Unlike supercars. 2024 Rolex Australian Grand Prix from Albert Park in Melbourne. Lap 1, Max Verstappen starts on pole position alongside Carlos Sainz. Max gets the whole shot. Everyone gets through turn 1 cleanly for once. That hasn't happened in a few years. Lap 2, Carlos Sainz takes the lead of the Grand Prix, passing Max Verstappen down the back straight. Lap 3, Max Verstappen's Red Bull is smoking badly with a rear brake fire. The world champion is out of the race. His first retirement in, I think, 43 races. Lap 8, Lewis Hamilton pits for hards. Alex Albon pitting the lap before. Lap 9, George Russell pits for hard tyres. Bottas has yet another horror pit stop regarding a wheel knot down at Kick Sauber. Lap 10, Charles Leclerc and Oscar Piastri pit for hard tyres. Lap 15, Lando Norris and Sergio Perez pit for hard tyres. There was a lot of action happening as well, but I was eating my pizza at this point, so I missed a bit. Lap 17, Carlos Sainz pits for hard tyres and goes back out into the lead of the race.
Just to JB's defence, it was a really nice pizza.
It was a great pizza, and there was a lot of there was overtaking happening at this point, but pepperoni and
before we continue, I think the main question that the listeners want to know, was it cheesy cunt?
It absolutely was cheesy cunt.
Perfect. Move on. Continue. The show must go on.
It's the best $3.50 you can spend if you're not cheesying up, you can't.
I've got to bleep all this.
Don't worry, I just put explicit down. We're all good.
Bleep. Lap 17. Lewis Hamilton suffers engine failure in his Mercedes, triggering a virtual safety car. The first time that Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton have retired from a race together since Monza 2021. Lap 20, Esteban Ocon pits with his right rear brake smoking in the same way Max's was. But Alpine find a visor tear off in his brake duct and send him on his way. No harm, no foul. Lap 27, Sergio Perez passes Fernando Alonso for 5th. Lap 29, McLaren swap Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri around. Lap 35, Charles Leclerc pits for hard tyres. Lap 36, Sergio Perez pits for hards. Lap 40, Oscar Piastri pits for hards. Lap 41, Lando Norris pits for hards. Lap 42, Carlos Sainz pits for hard tyres. Oscar Piastri passes Fernando Alonso for 4th. Lap 46, George Russell pits late for a set of hard tyres. Lap 49, Pierre Gasly is handed a 5-second time penalty for crossing the pit exit line. Lap 58, George Russell has a monster shunt, triggering the virtual safety car. It actually wasn't a monster shunt, it was actually rather tame. Thanks to Fernando Alonso lifting into turn 6. But lap 58, Carlos Sainz wins the Australian Grand Prix from Ferrari teammate Charles Leclerc and McLaren's Lando Norris. Charles Leclerc gets fastest lap. Carlos Sainz gets driver of the day.
And in fourth place was Australian Oscar Piastri.
Hey, Oscar, get in there.
Fifth place was Sergio Perez in the surviving Red Bull. Initially finishing sixth was Fernando Alonso, but he copped a 20-second penalty
Yes.
for causing George Russell's accident, so he was bumped down to eighth, which means that Lance Stroll has been bumped up to sixth in the other Aston Martin. Yuki Tsunoda finished eighth, but was bumped up to seventh in the RB. Fernando Alonso finished eighth. Nico Hulkenberg in the Haas was ninth, and Kevin Magnussen was 10th in
That's
the other
3
Haas.
points for the Haas's. They're back.
Yeah.
And
Double points finish.
the RB got 6 points.
Yeah.
And the Aston Martin's got a double points finish.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
The midfield battle has begun.
Looks like it's Haas and RB.
But
Williams are going to have to fucking close Microsoft Excel at some point.
Force crash.
Alt F4.
But clearly, like, Carlos Sainz got voted driver of the day and was the winner of the race.
Yeah.
He thoroughly deserved it. I mean, 2 weeks ago he was having his appendix surgery, getting his appendix removed, and it was a stellar effort by Oliver Behrman because clearly he's more suited to an F1 car than an F2 car.
Yeah.
But what an outstanding drive from Carlos.
He's still not 100%. And he just went out there and he dominated the race.
Yeah.
Like, he dominated. Like, there was, I think Lando was second for a point. And then Charles Leclerc was there, but I don't think the gap to Carlos was any less than 4 seconds at any time during the race. Like, he Max Verstappened it without being Max Verstappen. Like,
Yeah, 100%.
it was a brilliant drive.
It was a dominating race from someone that wasn't Max Verstappen.
Yeah.
But there's also something else about this race that we haven't mentioned when it comes to Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc. The Ferrari strategy department finally got it right.
They did what they had
Miracles
to without us talking
do
about
happen. Miracles can come true.
They didn't stuff the strategy and they got a 1-2 finish.
And at one point, Fred Vasseur actually got on the blower and said, okay, guys, lock in formation, bring it home.
Yeah.
And they did. They did. You know?
Good for them.
Unlike, what was it last year? Was it Monza? Where it's like no pressure.
Yeah, no racing.
Yeah, no.
Just bring it home.
Yeah, and then Carlos Sainz just about plows up the arse of Charles Leclerc.
No, it was
yeah.
Charles Leclerc nearly plowed up the arse of Carlos
Yeah, it's
Sainz.
just like, no pressure. No pressure, boys.
Whereas there was a collective boo when Oscar Piastri got asked to hand position over to Lando Norris.
That was the right call, though.
It was.
It was.
the right
Lando Norris had undercut him and was faster.
Yeah.
Lando Norris's job was to get past Oscar and go after Charles, and he didn't have the pace to get to Charles. But neither did Oscar. And then Oscar locked up late in the race, and instead of it being a 2-second gap, I think it was like a 9-second gap by the end.
Yeah.
It was the right call, but I understand why the crowd's
Yeah.
going to do that.
Yeah. Fox Motorsport didn't waste a fucking beat on it, though.
Yeah.
They're just like, McLaren a cunt.
It does feel like, I mean, this was an instance where it 100% was the right call to give Lando back the place, to let Lando take the place. But it always does feel like Oscar ends on the wrong side of their strategy
I feel
calls,
like
you know?
if Oscar hadn't locked up, he would have been close enough, and McLaren maybe would have let him have the position back.
You reckon he would?
Because he was closing. He was about 2 seconds behind Lando, and then he goes off the track I think he went off at the far chicane, and the gap went from 2 seconds to 9 seconds, and he just couldn't catch the gap back up.
Yeah.
I think there would have been an opportunity, but he didn't. He fucked himself.
And it was something that I think Martin Brundle brought up, that if Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc had swapped positions, Charles Leclerc would be winning the championship. He'd be ahead of Max Verstappen. But they, Carlos Sainz was in front, and they said, right, we'll lock in like this and finish the race.
Well, there would have been no way they could have asked Carlos to do that. Not after dropping him. But stuff you. If I was Carlos, he's racing for his career right now. And when I say career, he's getting a seat next year. He's not in fear of that. But
he's
racing to put his hand up for the RB, in my opinion, for the Red Bull. That's what he's putting his hand up
not
for.
Not the RB, the actual
Red Bull, the top team. Yeah,
the top team, not the Visa Cash app.
Yes. Next to Max Verstappen. That's where he's... projection is heading at the moment, in my opinion. I feel like, because
in one race, it's gone from he's being headhunted for Sauber, Audi, and now it's like Red Bull's looking at him.
Yeah.
And so he should.
Because
He's the only driver
Daniel
who won-
Ricciardo's now got his ultimatum
Yeah.
from Visa Cash App RB that you've got 2 races to outperform Yuki Tsunoda, or you're facing the axe for Liam Lawson.
And my God, you should hear some of the Australian podcasts that get upset about Ricciardo giving ultimatum. It's like, you know what? Take your biases aside. I love Daniel Ricciardo, but he's not putting his hand up right now to be in that Red Bull.
Yeah, well, I keep...
Yuki Tsunoda's out driving him.
The car's shit, but Yuki Tsunoda has out-qualified him, I think, twice in a row now.
Yeah, but also, I keep saying this every time. Like, Daniel Ricciardo seems to lack the killer instinct. He's too happy and funny and...
He did at one stage have that killer instinct. He doesn't have it anymore.
And then he went to fucking Renault.
It's just,
And then he went to Renault, and then he went to McLaren, and he fucking got disillusioned with everything.
that's where Ricciardo lost it there. He made too many switches, wanting to be the number one guy. He should have just sucked it up and realised he would have been on the same page, if not slightly lower than Max Verstappen, and stayed in the top car.
He left Red Bull
Instead-
right before it got good, and he left McLaren right before it got better.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
He
it's-
could have been. It could have been Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo last year with the second fastest car on the grid, but
And if
he jumped ship a year
if
early.
Ricciardo gets dumped by RB this year,
He's not coming back.
I think the only thing he can do is go to Australian Supercars.
Yeah,
Or NASCAR.
Well,
Not NASCAR, IndyCar.
I don't think IndyCar will touch him.
You reckon?
No, I think he's destined for Australian Supercars. You know, he might replace Brody Kostecki or
It
whatever.
might be the only way they get a bit of viewership.
yeah. You
So they
might
might
actually.
offer him a fair bit, to be fair.
They probably will.
Yeah.
He'll be the highest paid driver on the grid. I'll give you that much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, who knows if he can do it in the 2 races been given. But yeah, Yuki Tsunoda's out driving him, and a lot of people don't rate Yuki Tsunoda. So if you don't rate Yuki Tsunoda, but he's clearly beating Daniel
Yeah.
Ricciardo, how can you make a case for him to still be in the
Exactly.
grid
You
at the moment,
can't. You can't. You got no leg to stand on if you.
It's a double-edged sword. Like, either Yuki Tsunoda's a really good driver, or fucking he's not, and Daniel Ricciardo's not doing very well. Like,
Well, in
Yeah.
the post-race conference, someone asked Christian Horner about, you've got a choice of Ricciardo or Yuki Tsunoda to replace Perez at Red Bull. And he hardly acknowledged them, and he went, well, Carlos Sainz is in the conversation as well.
yeah.
You know, after today's
drivers.
performance and Singapore last year, if Carlos Sainz isn't in the conversation for...
And he was once in the Red Bull Academy.
They know
Yeah.
him well.
He did
yeah.
drive for Toro Rosso.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, so if he's not in the conversation to replace Sergio Perez, then...
He is now.
Yeah.
I honestly, as soon as he lost his seat at Ferrari, I thought he would have been in that conversation anyway. Like, I still thought it would have been Ricciardo's coming into the year, but I thought he would have been up there. But the way the season's gone so far, I mean, Sainz is...
All right,
not put
hypothetical. Daniel Ricciardo beats Yuki Tsunoda the next 2 races. That's not enough to bump him. That's not enough to make him a front runner over Carlos Sainz at this point, is it?
No, it's not.
No.
Unless
Even
Sainz crashes out the next 2 races or something, you know what I mean? But I think we're talking a bigger gap than 2 races, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think this decision's going to be made for a while. I mean, the rumour at the moment is Perez is re-signed.
Yeah, I did think I hear that.
There's a rumour going around that he's extended his contract, so...
But we'll come back to Carlos Sainz a little bit later in the show. So Carlos Sainz done great, and Charles Leclerc got fastest lap. So we
He
get
did.
So we get to the key drivers, and my first key driver is Charles Leclerc. I think he drove a really solid race. He played the team orders really well and utilised the team strategy and helped the team's strategy work.
The Ferrari was a good car.
It was.
It's had a lot. It really likes the Melbourne track, the Ferrari.
Yeah.
It's had a lot of success there.
Yeah. My next key driver was Lando Norris.
Did well.
Did a solid race.
Did as well as he could. I think pushed the car as hard as it could. I don't think Melbourne quite suits the McLaren the way it suits the Ferrari, but he did what he could. And you know what? I'll take 3rd and 4th.
Did better than
I think
the
it was-
Mercedes.
I think it's 27 points, and that's pushed us away from Mercedes in the championship standings already.
Yeah. Next key driver was Oscar Piastri.
Yeah, shame he had to give 3rd place up, but it was the right strategy call, unlike what Fox Motorsport will lead you to believe
But-
that Zach Brown's the worst human on the planet.
And I have to say this too, is that Oscar Piastri really seems like a solid teammate. Like they
He'll
ask
get
him
it
to
back.
move over.
Oh, yeah.
He'll get it back, man. If he's closing Lando down in Suzuka, Lando's stepping aside.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so too.
I think him having Mark Webber as his managers really helped him in his career so far. I think Mark Webber's doing a really good job of I mean, it's probably in Oscar's nature anyway. He seems like a really awesome fella, young.
He's got a good head on his
got
shoulders.
that great
that
Aussie,
He's very mature. He's only a kid.
Yeah, for 21, he's got great head on his shoulders. But I feel like Mark Webber's telling him, you're at a point in career, you do the team thing now because he's got the talent to be. One day you're going to be in a top car.
Yeah,
and that's when you put your foot down. That's when you go for the guillotine.
The team game.
Yeah, that's when I'm going for it.
But for me, Oscar Piastri, like you see him in interviews and everything, and he's fun and all that stuff. But when he gets in that car, switches it, and he's got the killer instinct.
He can drive.
He's so talented.
He has what Danny Rick does not have anymore, which is the killer instinct. When the visor goes down, he hits the fuck it button and goes for it.
Yeah,
and that's what you want in a driver.
Yeah,
I agree.
So my next and final key driver is Yuki Tsunoda.
Yeah,
dragging the RB to 8th. That was awesome.
Yeah.
It's a great drive. And I mean, there's an argument for including Kevin Magnussen and Nico Hulkenberg on this, but for getting points for Haas. But I don't really want to put them on a list for prosperity.
The Haas has now got points in 2 consecutive races.
Yeah,
which isn't bad considering we thought it was a dog box.
Yeah.
I almost feel like, Haas themselves...
Turns out maybe it's not as bad as we think.
Yeah. Maybe, either Ayo Komatsu or Haas themselves deserve a bit of credit for the way they've gone about this year after losing Gunther Steiner and the way last year was.
They aren't designing that car in Microsoft Excel.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, the thing about the Haas is it's got to be consistent all year. Because that's last year they started off all right. Same with
Well, yeah,
Alfa
last
Romeo.
year didn't they get like 12 points and they were there for 10 races, 12 races.
They plateaued for majority of the season.
They got all their points at the start and then they just stayed there.
Yeah,
and wound up coming last.
Yeah, so they've got to really be consistent and keep working and keep hustling.
Yeah.
All right, the Helmut drivers. Here we go.
The Helmut drivers.
Helmut of the week.
Right, so there's 3 drivers. First driver is Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah.
Just
a nothing performance.
It was a meh performance.
That qualifying.
Yeah.
I got so excited when he went for it. I was like, here we go. He's got to put it in. And he literally went off that turn. It was like one of the early turns in the track. And I was like, did he just go? No one acknowledged it.
Yeah.
And then he come in at P5 and I was like, fuck. He had the pace, but I was like, he's going to get that taken away for that turn, and he did, and I was like, "Oh, come on, man! You've got to start putting these weekends together, Daniel.
Yeah.
My next one is Alex Albon, because he bottled it in FP1 and fucked up the car, and they had to give him Logan Sargent's car,
and still didn't get points.
He still didn't get there.
Which we'll get into Williams later. I've got something to say on that happening as well, but.
And my final Helmut driver is Fernando Alonso.
For trying to murder. And you know what? There are video evidence from 2003 when he was driving for Minardi or brake checking someone back then. And there's about 3 or 4 videos that have popped up on Twitter over since 2 days since the race ended of how many times Fernando Alonso has brake checked his opponents over his career. Yeah. And it's a lot more than you think.
Yeah, well, the race did a video that came out, I think it was this morning, where they actually had the telemetry data.
Yeah, it's bad.
And it's bad.
He actually touched the brake.
Yeah, he
downshifted and touched the brake.
And then upshifted back up and took the corner. And he said, I tried taking the corner different line, but,
he brake checked him. He did it on purpose.
If that crash had been any worse, he could have done some serious damage to George Russell.
Well, it could have, because George Russell came back out on the track. So we're very lucky that it wasn't cars directly up George Russell's ass, because...
He was terrified too, because he was pointing the wrong way.
Yep.
Up
Upside
on an angle.
down.
And he's like, can we stop the race? Red flag, please. It's like, someone stop the race because I can't see anything and I'm in the middle of the track.
Yeah.
So...
it could have been a lot worse. It could have been as big as it looked. Actually, the crash itself was not as bad as it looked. Yeah. The aftermath of the Mercedes up in the air on its side with no rear wing looks dramatic, but it was actually a pretty standard crash. Yeah. But, as you said, if someone from behind because that's turn 6, that's a blind sweeper.
Someone else loses it in that corner coming around.
Someone else comes around just behind him and smashes him in the underside and cracks the floor right where his ass is. What's the damage then?
Yeah. Yep.
So, I don't know about you guys. I'm voting for Alonso.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
He gets my vote too.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad.
Yep.
Right. So, we're on to the news. The first news item is Alex Albon crashed his car in FP1 and Williams did not have a spare chassis in Melbourne. So, Logan Sargent
Lost his seat
lost his seat.
to Alex Albon because he was the better chance for points, which is correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fucking gosh.
I did feel bad for Logan Sargent. Like,
Kudos to Logan Sargent. As much as we've ragged on him on this show,
well,
that's a fucking...
If it's okay, I'd like to read the statement that I've got up, and then I've got, because this will be on the YouTube version. You'll be able to read this statement. Following Alex Albon's accident during FP1 at the Australian Grand Prix, Williams Racing confirms that due to the extensive damage sustained, it is forced to withdraw the chassis for the remainder of the Grand Prix. This chassis will be returned to the team's HQ at Grove for repair. Due to the fact that a third chassis is unavailable, the team can confirm it has taken this decision for Alex to compete for the remainder of the weekend in the chassis that Logan Sargent drove in FP1 and FP2. And the statement from Logan Sargent was, "This is the hardest moment I can remember in my career, and it's absolutely not easy. I am, however, completely here for the team and will continue to contribute in any way that I can this weekend to maximise what we can do." You know, we sit here and we rag on Logan Sargent, but for him to sit there and say, you know what, I'll step aside, he can have the car.
And he didn't go home, he stayed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Max Verstappen's statement was, I would have been on the plane yesterday if that was me.
Yeah, but
Max Verstappen's actual statement was, if I'd crashed my car and they'd given my car to someone else, I would have gone home. I would have fucked them. But kudos to Logan.
The difference
and every
is,
time
though,
he was shown on the screen, the Aussie crowd cheered him.
The difference is, though, Max is the kind of driver that if he crashed his car, they are giving it to him, the other car to him. You know what I mean? Like, that's what Alex Albon is to Williams. Alex Albon is Williams' Max Verstappen. He is the lead driver. And I've got a lot of respect for Logan Sargent for the way he handled this. This wouldn't have been easy for anyone. And it's not really fair. But in the world of Formula One, where you've got to go for every point, and Williams has got to fight for every point, it was the decision we had to do. And this, to me, shows us the broader problem with Williams is not that they had to make this decision because they don't have two competent drivers. You should have two competent drivers that if they crash out, you're out. I would have had no problem Alex Albon sitting out if our second driver was competent enough to trust to get a point. But this is what happens when you have a team. Like in F1, we shouldn't be having drivers that you don't have the confidence in to let them race their car. If you've got to swap them out with the other driver because you're not believing they can get a point, why are they in your car? I've said this for the longest time, but to me, this highlights that even Williams know this. So why did he get another year? And I don't want to shit on Logan too much because, again, he should be getting points at the moment for how he handled this. But I just look at it in the team's perspective of Williams. Everyone criticising Williams. They did what they had to do, but the real problem here is they shouldn't be in that position because they should have taken their driver pairing seriously and made sure they had two drivers that they trust in
There's not
trust
many
in their
teams
cars.
that like the decision would be this easy. Max Verstappen, you'd absolutely put in over Sergio Perez, Carlos Sainz, Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri, even Ocon Gasly.
The only time you would be doing this is if you were going for the World Championship. It was towards the end of the year, and the driver needed to be in the car to go for the championship.
Well, they used to do this back in the old days. Yeah, like you had, and they do it in the movie Ferrari, where I think the new driver, they had four drivers driving the Milia 1000, and I think it was Ascari or Fangio or one of the top line drivers. His car conked out, and their brand new driver comes into the pits, and they're like, "Get out of the car. We're going to put his numbers on, and he's taking your car."
Yeah.
And kept going with the race. And that's how they did it back in the old days.
People forget how cutthroat Formula One has been.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Right, so we'll move on from that. Next news item is the Fernando Alonso penalty.
Absolutely justified.
Absolutely justified. And, you know, places like Sky Sports sit there and talk up how amazing Fernando Alonso is, and he's the man who beat Michael Schumacher in '06 and all this stuff. For me, Fernando Alonso is possibly one of the dirtiest drivers on the grid.
It always has been.
He has a streak, as it turns out.
And like he's a cutthroat bastard back, in the garage.
Oh yeah.
And he chucks a wobbly if the car isn't to his liking. I mean, I can understand that, but he's the worst one for it. And then he knew he couldn't beat George Russell. So he pulls a stunt like that. I mean, if that accident had gotten really bad, I know it looks worse than it actually was, but what if his car got tipped over and then someone comes around that corner at breakneck speed and plows into that car?
Yeah,
George Russell, and either George Russell is still in the car or he's just gotten out of the car and gets wiped out by the car.
Yeah.
It was a red flag incident. It was just an unfortunate timing
They
that they wanted to get the race
they
over.
safety card it.
I know, but what I'm saying is it was a red flag worthy.
Yeah.
They just decided to
if
finish
it was any
under the
earlier in
supercar.
the race, it would have been a red flag.
That's
but
right.
It was
They
the
were
last
like,
lap. They're just like,
we'll just get it finished. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's the principle. It's not the result. The result is George Russell walked away okay, and it wasn't as bad as an accident as it could have been. But the principle is you don't know that when you brake check someone.
Yeah.
You don't know what damage is going to happen when you do that to
The
someone.
fact that you're going to do something dangerous and ruthless like that just really shows how much of a piece of shit he is. Any respect I had for him is gone.
And you know what? Kudos to George Russell too. He took it on the chin and said it was his own fault. He has not put any blame on Fernando Alonso, even though he could.
that's
have.
all right. The FIA did.
Yeah.
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 The
FIA,
FIA is like, we have sufficient evidence to believe that you brake checked him.
the FIA and the internet and every fan in the fucking...
Yeah, there's a video up on Twitter of the comparison from Fernando's rear wing, the lap before and the lap that he did, lap 57 and lap 58. Lap 57, he goes through there, 7th gear, no problems. Lap 58, downshifts to 6, taps the brake, and then goes back up again, and George Russell just closes on him.
Yeah.
And has to swerve, thinking he's going to hit him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, but that was one of the most pathetic displays of driving I've ever seen in a Formula One race.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
That's pretty despicable. So, yeah.
It almost should be worth more than 3 points.
He's lucky he doesn't get a grid demotion at the next race. He probably should.
Well,
He should,
he's only got 2 more points on his super license, and then he's banned for a few races. So
Yeah, there you go.
maybe he fucking deserves it.
Maybe.
Right. Next thing, the Red Bull Racing saga.
Ah, we're back.
Continues.
Well,
Scroll the Star Wars credits. Here we go. Da, 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 da.
So
Is this one A New Hope or Return of the Jedi?
Episode 6. Adrian
the
Newey.
ceasefire. So Oliver Mintz, whatever his name is,
Minslav, I think it is.
Mintzlaff, he has ordered a ceasefire from the Verstappen camp, the Helmut Marko camp, and the Christian Horner camp. He said, I'm done with all this drama. Knock off the shit and just get on with racing. Thank you!
Good.
Fucking
Peace.
thank you!
Peace. Peace.
You will now know peace.
There you go. That's exactly what happened at the end of that one Star Wars movie.
Yep.
And then the next episode, there was war again.
Yep. Right. So that's the Red Bull saga.
Done for now.
Done.
To be continued.
Done.
Until Disney buy the rights to it, and there's another 3 movies.
And then Disney gets Kathleen Kennedy in, and she starts running again. Put a chicken in, make her fucking gay.
Put a chicken and make her fucking gay.
Put a fucking chicken in, and make her name it gay. And we've killed Brody.
South Park is undefeated.
South Park's killing.
Make
Oh,
it
that's
fucking gay.
Where the fuck is Bob Hager? Put a fucking chicken in, and make her name it fucking gay. Disney Plus. Kathleen Kennedy and her sexual fingers touching Star Wars and just fucking it up.
Yeah.
I'll I'll do it one more time just for
Put a fucking ticket in, they can make an aim again.
Right, moving right along. Holy shit. Williams in Excel.
Oh, here we go.
Here we go.
Picked a good day to wear my Williams shirt, didn't I?
But oddly enough, when we watched this race, I was wearing my Ferrari shirt and he was wearing his McLaren shirt.
Is there any Microsoft fucking sponsors on here that no one
No.
knows?
I'm pretty sure Alpine.
Yeah, they're with Alpine.
Alpine was with Microsoft for a while.
Yeah.
Oh, man. How
They're
fucked
going to
up.
put the XL logo on the Williams car. They need to now.
Windows 95 XP.
Just sure, I want an XL logo right on the nose. Made by XL. What's that meme where it's like that? Is it Alicia Keys' song? Where it's like it's been 25 years since Alicia Keys texted her boyfriend on Messenger XL and he got mad that he didn't reply.
It's no, what's the Kelly Rowland? Is it
Yeah, I
Kelly
think it might
Rowland?
be Kelly Rowland.
Yeah. She
Kelly
got
Rowland
mad he
got
didn't
mad
reply.
that she messaged her boyfriend on Microsoft XL and got mad that he didn't reply. James Vowers is sending text messages on Windows XL. Why's the car shit? Why can't I fast?
Put a ticket in, they can name a gay.
Why can't I fast? F1 Manager 24, why can't I fast? Don't understand this screen at all.
Fast light speed, I upgrade. Why can't no fast?
What do you mean I blew the budget in a year and it doesn't reset? That actually happened.
Oh, really?
I blew the McLaren budget in 3 years and didn't reset. They're like, we've got no money. Don't ask how the team went broke. But we're still not winning the championship. We've got no money. Sorry, Lando.
So you've done a Toyota impression.
You're not winning the championship and we've got no money. So I can't re-sign Oscar Piastri.
Oh,
Or
really?
you.
So you signed on Logan Sargent instead.
I had to get an F2 driver because they were cheap. Anyway, that's not as bad as Williams.
You know what you should have done? Put a ticket in, name your name and gay.
Make her name it gay.
Just put Disney Plus logos all over it. Yeah, that'll work. Oh, Williams.
Williams.
You know it's bad when the race does a video where they highlight that last year's car, every other car has got carbon fibre all over it. Last year's Williams had carbon fibre with metal bits in it.
Formula One don't use metal much.
Soon they're going to have magnesium parts.
I mean, this
It's
explains
500.
why. This explains why, for the longest time, they never had the screen and the steering wheel, doesn't it? Like,
It wasn't
for so
listed.
long, we were watching it, going, "Why haven't they done this?" And then finally,
It
we
was in the
figure out
separate.
why.
It was in the separate Excel file. Steering wheel, screen, separate folders, separate parts. Just put it on the bodywork.
Put a ticket in, they can name a gay.
Oh. So, for people listening, have you got a spiel about what's going on at all, or at Williams?
Basically, they've listed all the parts in Excel.
So, for everyone listening, go watch the race video on it because it explains it a lot better than we're going to. But basically, James Vowers has walked into Williams and gone, "What the fuck is this?" They're still basically operating with the same procedures from about 20 years ago. All their parts, everything is kept in an itinerary in Microsoft Excel. Like, they're just, everything is behind. They've literally got the bloke with the DeWalt blower as the arrow. Like, the joke we used to make about that is actually been Williams. So,
The fact that this car is not the worst on the grid is fucking phenomenal. What the fuck is Kick Sauber doing?
They can't get
You
their
can't
tyres
beat a
off.
car made of metal and fucking Windows 95. That shit, wait till they see that. It's like that car's literally made... What's the fucking Iron Man quote? Tony Stark made this in a cave with a bunch of fucking scrap. James Vowers made this in Microsoft Excel with a bunch of fucking scrap. And we're worse than that.
we can't even get the front left tyre on properly.
And wheel nuts are shit. 57-second pit stops aren't helping, but their car was made in Windows Excel and is running magnesium parts. Well, I'll be fucked.
A 500 horsepower engine.
And still better than RB, and still better... Well, actually, not anymore. The Haas is better than them now.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm still stuck in the Tony Stark quote. Tony Stark built this in a cave from a box of scraps.
Yeah, they built this in Windows XL with dial-up internet and fucking landline.
I'm not Tony Stark.
So, yeah, basically James Vowles has got a much longer-term project on his hand. Him and Pat Fry are trying to change all the procedures in Williams. It's a big change they're going to have to implement, which means the Williams isn't going to be moving up the grid as quickly as we were hoping, unfortunately. It's going to take a bit longer, but I am excited to know that we've got the right guys that are finally fixing some really bad problems.
But
I thought you were joking about the XL thing. No, man. Dead serious. It's all there on that floppy disk.
We're just waiting for the computer to boot up first.
I've got 17 floppy disks over there with all the half parts on it.
And we're not talking the 3 and 3.25 inch ones. We're talking the not 3.5 inch ones. We're talking the 5.25.
Windows
XP
XP was
ones.
too advanced. We had to boot it back to like Windows 95. Yeah. Windows 98.
Everything's run off a Commodore 64 off the cassette deck. No, but the one quote that James Vowles said is that some people are starting to struggle going from XL to the new system. Fucking how old are you? A fucking star!
I feel like we need a reshuffle going on in the factory.
Jesus Christ!
I didn't know. Don't worry. The fact that they understand XL puts them ahead of me because I didn't fucking understand XL when I was at school.
I can imagine all these pommy gets in
all
there
these
going,
old motherfuckers.
They're going, what the fuck do you mean I have to learn fucking new things? I've known Excel for 20 fucking years. 20 fucking years.
Take your Beatles cassette out.
I still listen to music on fucking vinyl. What the
I'm
fuck
not
is
paying
this
for
shit?
fucking Spotify. I'll give you that much.
Where's Nigel? Get Nigel back in here.
Where's that fucking YouTube shit? I use a VHS player. What the fuck is it?
Nigel had no problem with this.
Just bring back the Etch-a-Sketch and be done with it. I want like grade 12 like mechanical the graph paper. Just get me a right angle and some graph paper and I'll build you a fucking car.
I can make fucking cars. I don't need this carbon fiber shit. That's too expensive. Go get me some fucking steel from the steel yard.
Get me some proper British steel.
I've got my anvil over here. We'll heat it up and I'll bang it with the hammer.
Proper British steel. If they bump us, they're fucked. Imagine making the front wing out of just steel. It's like, solve the fucking issue, boys. It doesn't flex at high speed, but it'll never come off. It's basically a bull bar at this point.
It'll never flex under high speed because it'll never flex. Just come over here. We heat this thing up in the fire pit here, right? And then we put it on the anvil and dong 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 dong.
Some medieval dude in a fucking mask.
And then look, I've got to go for the clinch.
You gotta just dipping it into fucking water. Shit.
And then pull it out, put a fucking handle on it, give it to old mate from Forge of Fire. He chops a fucking pig in half with it and goes, "Yep, your blade, sir, it will keel.
This car, sir, it will keel."
Nigel Mansell sitting there going, Jesus, this reminds me of the car I used to drive. I won my championship in one of these back in 92.
In closing, Williams has a lot of work to do.
And that's where most of their budget cap for this year went.
Windows XL.
Upgrading from Windows 98.
Upgrading the drivers on their PC.
Next year, they'll be running Windows 8.
Oh, wow.
No, your Norton subscription has expired. James, I need $1.99 for a 12-month subscription to Norton. We don't have $1.99. You better use McAfee. All right, we'll use McAfee.
Oh, I'm over. I've got
the license is expired on Windows Office.
I've got an Apple iMac.
Oh,
for the G4. One of those.
One of the clear ones from my old computer days. My old computer lab at primary school had a clear iMac too.
And then you got Bob down the back that everyone calls Bob the Builder. He's sitting there going, I still use my Commodore 64. This thing hasn't let me down yet.
Old mate on the fucking key, the typewriter in the back.
Someone else has got a computer made by Texas Instruments down the back. You just go, what the fuck is going on here? You're running...
Imagine James Vowles' first day.
Coming from Mercedes, walking into the smelter that is Williams' factory.
What the fuck is
What did I deserve to do this
It looks
shit?
like an 1800s fucking British farmhouse.
Looks like something from Peaky Blinders.
Dirt floor and shit. The fuck is this?
He walks in through the front door and you hear do 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 do.
It looks like the scene from Rush where Hesketh has got the fucking car in the back shed. Just roll the garage door open. There it is.
Knew it was around here somewhere.
Under a blanket, get the dust off. Not very fucking hygienic, is it? Where's the steering wheel not got the screen on it? Trust me, that's the least of your fucking worries.
Yeah. They say, yeah, but our steering wheel doesn't have a screen on it. It doesn't have a fucking screen at all. No, well, look at what TV we've got in the commissary. It's a black and white TV from the 60s.
Box TV from the fucking... They're going to plug in the fucking...
Antenna.
We're just tuning the TV, rabbit ears and shit.
It's got the old clacker TV channel. It's
only got 4 channels.
The BBC, ITV, and whatever the fuck else they had back then.
Channel 4. UK
It's running reruns of Some Mothers Do Have 'Em.
EastEnders on loop.
And the goodies.
The Bill's on at 6. We got to start watching.
Tools down, laddies. The bill's on.
The Bill's on. Then we can watch Downton Abbey. It'll be fucking good. I think I just tried a back muscle.
Oh my god.
All I've got stuck in my head is the theme from The Bill.
I would have loved to have seen his face just like walking. Hey, it would have been gold. Coming from the
who were at their peak of their powers too, like winning Mercedes German technology into a fucking farmhouse in Surrey, where the fucking car's under a blanket.
The pinnacle of German excellence and technology to the pinnacle of pommy guys sitting at the pub. I mean, even the footage they showed, like even the female staff, they look like they work part-time in the local pub around the corner.
I know,
they're earning 2 paychecks. The staff can't go against the salary cap the way the car's been built, so they're working part-time at the pub.
Yeah, I've got to support me 2 children. They got to have their fish and chips at night,
Anyway, I hope Williams gets better from this.
Well, if there's anyone who's going to do it, it is going to be James Vowles and Pat Fry. They are going to turn it around.
And as we
it's
said, in
take a
spite
while.
of all this, Kick Sauber and... I mean, RB got points now, but Kick Sauber, what are you doing?
I mean, Kick Sauber's got their own issues.
And Alpine, a works team from France, is being outdone by Windows 95 and a dude on Excel.
The worst thing about Kick Sauber, though, is they just can't get their fucking tyres on. Because their wheel guns are fucking... Like, I had a wheel nut come off.
Yeah, they keep over-talking the wheel nut for some reason, just on the front left. It's only the front left.
Stop talking about the wheel nuts, then, and just fucking change them.
Go change the wheel nuts, the ones you had last year. Apparently, like, the whole front assembly is, like, fucked. Like, the
well,
wheel
they should design it in Excel. It works for Williams.
Well, they're going to have to restart the whole car. But
yeah, but I mean, then you get Alpine. Like, fuck.
The French works team. The works team with all the resources.
Backed by an entire nation.
Some dude in Excel. They created a car. that's made half of metal for some reason.
Eating a
It's
chip
faster.
buddy, typing it into Excel, just fucking...
Faster than your car.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing, really.
Because I mean, you got Alpine where their team boss is a guy who looks like a turtle that's slowly crawling out of his shell. You got two drivers who, honestly, the best thing they could do is just crash into each other and call it a fucking day.
4-hour entertainment.
An engine that, frankly, you'd be better if you just took it out and ran it as a Flintstones car.
Yeah.
And like they've got the factory support of Microsoft. Like, they're Microsoft supporters. I think Microsoft should be supporting Williams because fuck, they need all the help they can get with Excel. But
Windows tech support.
yeah. But I mean, fucking Jesus, Alpine is just
James Vowles logs into his computer. It's just like Excel pops up, and the little paper note dude comes up. How can I help?
Looks like you're creating a Formula 1 car again.
And James Vowles is just slamming the book against the table, going, "Just fuck off, damn it."
It looks like you didn't score any points last week. Would you like some help with that? Fuck's sake. You gifted Alex Albon Logan Sargent's car and you still didn't get a point. Would you like some help with that? The tech support number is 1-800-333-955. Condescending paperclip.
Williams, yes, they this year's not going to be the gains we were hoping for, but
I honestly thought the car was in. I thought the team was in better shape than this.
so did I. Yeah, so did I.
To the forge. To the forge. We have more parts to make in the forge.
James Vowles has said that he expects it to take around 3 years to change a culture of about 1,000 workers, which probably sounds about right. But
This is year 2.
It would only take 3 minutes if you used a cattle prod.
the positive thing is that so far the word is, this is coming from the race videos, that everyone's receptive in Williams for these changes.
Except
Everyone's like,
Bob,
hell yeah, we need to update all our procedures to
Except
be
for old mate
competitive.
Bob, who's sitting there going, I don't want to change from Excel. What the fuck is this all about, eh?
Nigel Mansell in the
I
corner.
like listening to the Beatles. I sound a lot like John Lennon here. It's not your fault, Yoko, that the Beatles broke up. Come on now, Yoko.
Well,
Don't
look,
be
I
like
mean,
that.
They've identified the problem on a public scale. So now you're going to be embarrassed into action.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Well, I mean, they've been embarrassed for the last 4 fucking years.
Yeah, but more embarrassed is Alpine, the works team, who now know that they're being beaten by a car that was made in Microsoft Excel. So Williams, it could be worse.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's actually pretty amazing where we are, despite that. Like, I had no idea we were that badly.
And Albon was in the top 10 for most of the Melbourne race. I think he fell out towards the end, but
Yeah, that's what I mean. He's even at the moment we're going to get points this year at some point. Albon's going to get in the top 10, you know. But that's pretty amazing to be as competitive as we are, despite our procedures. So I'm kind of excited for once they do get this all turned around and the budget upgrades all these procedures to get it to the point where we are effective in getting parts to cars, parts made, freaking carbon fibre around the car instead of metal, things like this. I'm thinking, hell, maybe Vowles and Pat Fry might actually have a chance of turning this car around, because I didn't realise we were in such a bad way to be where we are. So to be where we are in such a bad way is impressive, but holy fuck, fix the bad way, and who knows where Williams could be in a few years.
You know, Alpine is fucked when Pat Fry leaves it to go to Williams. That's when you know shit ain't right.
Yeah.
when you know that your rivals are literally building a car out of metal and fucking spare parts. The same team that didn't have a third chassis in Melbourne is also faster than you. You know, you and Kick Sauber, but Kick Sauber's going to become Audi. So they're going to become a force. So Williams need to meet them.
I mean, they're getting blown away by the Haas at the moment.
The Haas is better than we ever gave it credit for.
I know.
Like,
the Haas is still waiting for its parts to come by Ozpost. Like, you know, like, and they're beating Alpine.
US Postal Service has lost it again.
Well, I'm just looking at the complete race results, because we got to 10th. 11th was Alex Albon.
So we just missed points.
Yeah. 12th was Daniel Ricciardo. 13th was Pierre Gasly. 14th was Bottas, 15th was Zhou Guanyu, 16th was Ocon, and then you had Russell, Hamilton, Verstappen, and Logan Sargent. So, I mean, take what you want from that, but, you know, the Alpine...
They just missed points.
Yeah.
The Alpine looks
The Alpine
so
was
slow.
there, and the Kick Saubers had 37-second pit stops there.
Yeah, well, I think...
Actually, their fastest pit stop of the day was 3.8, and they literally cheered.
Yeah, we
Like,
cheered.
That's like fucking 2 seconds slower than McLaren, but okay.
But, I mean, even we cheered.
Yeah, it's like, wow.
Hey!
That's your first pit stop that's been under 30 seconds all year.
Hasn't Bottas already broken the record for the most amount of time in the pits?
Yes.
In 2 pit stops, he was longer than Carlos Sainz's pit stop time over the course of the entire last year. 22 races, like 30-something pit stops, and it was like 98 seconds.
Jeez.
And Bottas has done 2 pit stops in 2 races. It's 100-point-something seconds. It's
That's
like,
mental,
holy
isn't it?
shit.
And they're still beating an Alpine.
And they're still beating Alpine.
Wow.
Maybe this isn't how detrimental Williams is. How fucking terrible is Alpine?
Shocking.
Like, if that doesn't just spark some sort of change in that team, they need to just
Sell up.
sell
to
Sell
Andretti.
back to fucking Andretti.
Be done with it.
Right, so we're going to have the return of the racing strategy. Our subject this week is Carlos Sainz.
The man.
Right. Longhorn, what are the positives of Carlos Sainz signing with Red Bull?
The positive is they would be getting a smooth operator. The positives are he's raced for Red Bull before, well, Toro Rosso, so he's been in the Red Bull program before, so I'm sure he knows how it works over there and is familiar with the setup and the people and all of that. Carlos Sainz is a great personality on the grid. He's well loved by a lot of people, not just in Ferrari. Like, I think most Formula One fans are a fan of Carlos Sainz. He's good. He's immensely talented. I mean, he's the only driver outside of Red Bull to win a race in the last 2 years. So you're getting a guy who's probably won as many races as Sergio Perez has in the last 2 years, I almost want to say, in a different car. So I think if Red Bull want to have 2 super competitive drivers, which Christian Horner says they want, even though at the moment they've got the dominating champion and the rear gunner, that's kind of what they got at the moment. Christian Horner has said that he wants to have 2 guys competing, the best driver pairing possible they can have. I think Carlos Sainz fits that mold. I think if he goes into that seat, I feel like he has the potential there to challenge Max for a world championship. I'm not sure if he does, but I definitely think he's one of the drivers on the grid who would have a chance. So, the positives would be you'd be getting a much better driver than Sergio Perez at the moment. You'd be getting a great personality and, smooth operator.
All right, JB, what are the negatives about Carlos Sainz signing with Red Bull?
At this stage, probably only Sergio Perez's career. Because Daniel Ricciardo's not making the dent that he was forecast to. Honestly. Not too many negatives. I mean, the only negative if he signs with Red Bull is he will be playing second fiddle to Max Verstappen, undoubtedly. So,
well, for me, I think the negative of him signing with Red Bull is that he is a form driver at the moment, old Carlos Sainz. He is got some form about him.
yes.
Not quite Max Verstappen level of form, but he seems to have a little bit more form than Sergio Perez at the moment.
Yeah.
But if he signs with Red Bull, he's going to have to be competitive with Max from the kickoff, and it may actually cause Red Bull to lose a championship because those two will be at each other the whole time. You'll also probably lead to more whinging from Helmut Marko because one of the complaints that Helmut Marko had back when Max Verstappen and Carlos Sainz were driving for Toro Rosso was that their entourages were so fucking big that it was annoying the fuck out of him. With obviously Max and his father Jos Verstappen being there, and Carlos and his father Carlos being there and having their fathers sort of in their ear going, meh, 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 meh. But I think the positives outweigh the negatives, and I think that him signing with Red Bull is the best seat that he can.
Yeah, I don't see him getting the Mercedes seat. If anyone gets that, I still think Albon's the favourite for that seat, in my opinion, for the Mercedes seat. But, yeah, I feel like this is the... I feel like Sainz will go anywhere else, and he's got the chance to be the number one driver at most other places. He will go here to be a second, but he will go here with... Like you're saying, he'll win races for Red Bull that Verstappen doesn't. He'll put it on pole against Verstappen. You know what I mean? Like
he'll put Verstappen under pressure for sure.
That's right. So, like I said, it depends on what they want. At the moment, Red Bull, ideally, why would you change in a sense? You've got your World Championship driver who's running away with it, and you've got the bloke who's just putting it in just accumulating enough points that you're not going to lose to anyone else and not putting any pressure on your driver. But they always say, Red Bull, that they want this second driver. They want this scenario where they've got these two World Championship colour drivers. So I'm like, if you do want that, I feel like Sainz is that kind of driver. But
imagine your driver pairing being the guy that's won like 20 of the last 22 races and the guy that beat him in the other two races.
Yeah.
It's like my driver lineup hasn't lost for the last 30 races. It's Max Verstappen times 18 and Carlos Sainz times 2.
Well, here's my question to you, JB. What are the positives of Carlos Sainz signing with Mercedes?
I don't think he will. I mean, I guess you don't have to play number 2 driver because I think he's a better driver than George Russell.
Yeah.
Or at least on par. So you're not going to be playing second fiddle to Max Verstappen. Mercedes haven't quite got their 2021 car back yet. They haven't quite found form, and I don't think they're in any hurry to. But you'll be driving a slower car than the Ferrari. It'll be a step backwards, but you won't have to play second fiddle to George Russell because you're as good, if not better than him.
All right. Well, Longhorn, what are the negatives of driving with Carlos Sainz driving for Mercedes?
The negatives would be it'd be a step back from the current seat he has and the seat we're talking about in Red Bull. So it'd be a step back down the grid. He would be walking in. He wouldn't be walking in as the number one. He'd be walking in on par. So you could look at it in two ways. As that's a positive, but it's also slightly a negative where you have this. I guess it's the same as kind of what they had in Ferrari, although Ferrari put their eggs in Leclerc. Would Mercedes favour Russell, being that he's been there for a lot longer? You know what I mean? Would he be going there sort of under Russell and having to prove himself to get, whereas at the moment I feel like he's proved himself to be the driver. I mean, I think he should have been the one that Ferrari kept. That's my opinion. Yeah, like I said, the negatives are just you're going back to a worse car, performing car at the moment. And I don't know if that's what he'd want to
do. That was great timing. Me coughing straight into the microphone. That was just...
Chef's cough.
Oh, put a chicken in there, McGee. Right, so my opinion is the only way at this point that Carlos Sainz would sign with Mercedes is if the Red Bull seat, they sign someone else. They keep Perez or they pick Ricciardo. But anyone else other than Carlos Sainz going to Mercedes would be the best seat that he can get.
What seat do you think would be better for him? Would it be Mercedes or the Audi?
I'd go with the Audi. I mean, yeah,
you can be the spearhead of a works team if you go to Audi.
Yeah. That's right. And being at the Audi team, you'll have to put up with another year of it being branded Sauber and running Ferrari engines. But also having experience with Ferrari engines is helpful. But being the guy at the works team when it becomes Audi and having tried not to die on the microphone, having worked with Andreas Seidel.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'll and James Key.
Yep, 2 ex-McLaren employees.
So he's got that that firm knowledge base with them. So I think even if the option came up to go to Mercedes or to go to Audi, I think Audi would be the better option.
Yeah,
you can hit the ground running. You can hit the ground running with Audi too. Plus, you'll get to have first dibs on car setup. You get to have first dibs on everything. Like, you'll basically help design the car from the start.
Yeah.
You'll get the car you want.
You'll get to mould it.
You won't have to try and drive Max Verstappen's car.
No.
Or George Russell's car. Or Lewis Hamilton's car.
And I mean, you are working with the team that has got the most advanced wind tunnel out of all the teams at the moment.
Yeah.
And a team boss and a car designer that you've worked with in the past.
Yeah, you got that familiarity.
Yeah, so it's going to be a foot in the door, the ground floor of a team that has the potential to go into orbit. One thing I wanted to say, just as a sidestep, is something that you said, Longhorn, where they should have kept Sainz. I think I've said this all along, that they should have kept Sainz, because I honestly think that despite the British media like Sky Sports or whatever talking it up and it's so amazing, rah, 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 I think Lewis Hamilton is on the decline of his career.
He definitely is.
And I think it was a bad move signing him.
They've signed the wrong driver.
Yeah, they should have kept.
Absolutely signed the wrong driver.
They had a winning formula with Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc, and then they've signed a guy who, frankly, only has 2 years left in his career. He's cost them $400 million or something to sign him.
Yeah.
Some ridiculous amount for a guy who, honestly, he's going
to be like the current Fernando Alonso, just on the downside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was like Aston Martin getting Sebastian Vettel. It's just on the downward spiral of his career. He's on the downside. He's past his peak.
No one's going to have fun.
I think at least Aston Martin getting Vettel, the reason for that was Daddy Stroll wanted a world championship in that car to kickstart that car and his brand, and to help Stroll, because he's delusional in thinking that Stroll's going to become a world champion. So he thinking if you put him around world champions, maybe he'll become one. Is that maybe part of Ferrari's thinking? Is that if we put Charles Leclerc, who we've put all our eggs in and we've backed for the longest amount of time, if we put him with a world championship driver in Lewis Hamilton, our eggs are not in Lewis Hamilton. It's more, hopefully Lewis Hamilton can hand something down to Charles Leclerc.
They're wanting Lewis to rub off on Charles a bit.
Yeah, and Hamilton to maybe help Ferrari get everything in line with, how Mercedes have run.
Oh, with Bono coming over too. I mean,
is he actually coming?
That's the rumour.
He's going.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
They're a package deal.
Wow.
And the other rumour is that Pierre Wash, who is Adrian Newey's right-hand man, is also jumping ship to Ferrari.
I've heard that one. Fred Vasseur is making the moves that you need to make to get...
Fred Vasseur, for me, he is the guy he is this generation's Jean Todt. He's coming in. And
big call so far, but he's doing the right things.
Yeah, he as an outsider and not being Italian, being a Frenchman, he's looking at the team in a different viewpoint and going, this don't work, this don't work, this don't work, this needs to be fixed, this is fucked, this needs to be better.
Yeah.
And basically what he's doing now is short-term pain for long-term gain.
Yeah, but I mean, they're second in the Constructors.
He's getting rid of Carlos Sainz when he probably shouldn't be, but what he's bringing in is Lewis Hamilton, Pete Bonington, and the Washi guy.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to extract all the fucking information they can out of Lewis Hamilton and Pete Bonington before, in the 2 years that they're going to have them.
But I mean, if I was Fred Vasseur, I'd be looking at Lewis Hamilton's contract, looking at what he's doing and going, is there an exit clause on this? Because
I think use him. Just use him.
I just think they've made
Just pick his brain for 2 years.
Yeah, that's what they're doing.
Get as much out of the car and get out of him, extract as much information from him and Bono as you possibly fucking can. And then when the contract ends, he's going to fucking retire. Yeah. So fucking take as much car driving knowledge, setup knowledge, with Bono too, engineering knowledge, suck them dry of all their fucking knowledge and put it into use for the 2026 or 2027 car.
Yeah.
Because they're going to have him for the
2025.
last year of this reg and the first year of the next reg.
Yeah.
That's the only downside is Lewis is basically, you're all going to have to reset in 2026.
Yeah.
So whatever experience Lewis has with this generation of car.
Is that another reason why they've signed him, though, is to help develop their next generation?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. They're going to get as much information out of them as they can.
And then
to
hand over
kickstart the 2026. And then fucking Bamman's going to be in that car. And
that's the other unfortunate thing. That's where I think Sainz is so unlucky here, is that they've put all their eggs into Charles Leclerc. They've got Bamman sitting in the wings, who I think they want in that car in years to come.
Yeah.
And so they've kind of pushed themselves in this corner where they don't have a spot for Sainz. But I would like to pose to you guys an interesting question. Say they get Hamilton. I can understand that move because they're trying to build their knowledge. They're trying to build for the next car, all of that stuff. But have they put their eggs in the wrong driver out of Charles and Sainz? Should they have picked Sainz over Charles?
I said ages ago that Sainz was better than...
I've always thought Sainz is the driver
Charles,
I would have kept.
Charles can put it on pole consistently, but then he melts like a fucking chocolate in a fucking summer afternoon, you know.
Yep.
As soon as any pressure's applied to him, where Carlos doesn't seem to.
That's right.
You know.
What do you think, Phil, being the Ferrari fan?
I think that Carlos Sainz, if you put race pace or competitiveness over a weekend, and you put it over an entire season, Charles Leclerc has a wider bandwidth. If there's, a performance bandwidth,
he could be first or fifth.
Yeah,
Carlos will be like second or third.
Whereas Sainz has a narrower bandwidth, but in that bandwidth, he's going to do well.
He's consistent.
He's got better consistency.
He's not a complete firecracker like Charles Leclerc, but he also doesn't burn out and fade away like Charles Leclerc.
But here's the thing I find with them too. I think Charles is quicker over one lap. On average, he'll be quicker over one lap. But over race pace, I just feel like Carlos Sainz has it over him because of what you said, JB, is Charles buckles under that pressure. We've seen it in, what year was it? A couple of years ago. When
it was 2022.
Yeah, you've seen the cracks. As soon as he had a bit of pressure, he got a little bit of steam under him.
He was winning that French race by like 5 seconds. He wasn't even under pressure from Max.
Yeah.
No.
He just put it in the wall.
Meanwhile, you've got Carlos Sainz putting in performances like Singapore, where he was using
Lando as a shield.
You could see Carlos's mind ticks and works better when he's in the race to Charles. So I don't know. I mean,
I think they did, but I think they absolutely made the wrong decision.
Yeah.
Well, Charles Leclerc, man, you can get pole position. You can get, let's say he gets a race win or two, but he'll get a race win and then he'll get fourth, fifth. Blah, blah, blah.
Crash.
Carlos will get second, third. You'll get way more consistency out of Carlos.
Yeah. But I still maintain, I think that the team has made the wrong decision by signing Lewis Hamilton. I don't think...
it doesn't look good now.
Here's my thought process on this, okay? You were talking about the experience that
Lewis
Hamilton's
got. He will have his use. But it won't be to win races. He's not going there to win races and championships. He's not.
You were saying earlier that he's got that experience and they want it to rub off on Charles Leclerc. I don't think Charles Leclerc needs Lewis Hamilton rubbing all over him, rubbing experience and rubbing whatever else he wants to on him. I think that they need another consistent driver, and Carlos Sainz was that guy. They have the perfect driver pairing,
yes,
as does McLaren.
Yes, Ferrari and McLaren have the two best driver pairings on the grid. And Ferrari are breaking them up for fuck knows what reason now.
Because Lewis Hamilton
wants to drive Lewis Hamilton wants to fucking photos in Ferrari.
It's one of the few times where you'd be smarter to turn around and go, sorry, Lewis, you're not worth the money, mate.
It's not 2021.
Yeah. You passed your prime. You've done your job. Go give fucking
At the time, it seemed like an okay option. But in that time, we've had Carlos Sainz win a race. And Oliver Bamman get in the car and finish 7th.
Yeah, and Lewis...
in that fucking time. And I'm pretty sure Oliver Bamman outdrove Lewis in the car, and then Carlos Sainz won a race, which is something Lewis Hamilton hasn't done in 3 years now?
Yeah, he hasn't won a race
since 2021. And Carlos Sainz has won 2.
And if DTS was anything to go by, what they've inherited by hiring Lewis Hamilton is they've hired his super awful self-righteous attitude, which is something
and all his fucking weirdo celebrity friends.
Yeah. I think the only thing he brings to the table is sponsorship. That's it. because he doesn't. He's past his prime.
Merchandise sales, maybe. All the Brits are going to have to fucking wear Ferrari gear.
Yeah.
But I mean, Ferrari wants results on track. They don't give a fuck about how many T-shirts.
They're not going to get results. They're not going to get results on track with Lewis Hamilton. They're not.
Yeah. Oh, I just think it was.
They would have got better results with Carlos Sainz.
Yeah.
Even if Lewis does scrape a podium here and there, they would have got better results with Carlos.
They'd get better results, and it'd be cheaper if they got Oliver Behrman.
Yeah?
Yeah, you know, they'd have better results if they got fucking Mick Schumacher.
Yeah, let's not go too far.
No, I mean, you know my point. Like, Lewis Hamilton is well past his prime. He is not the Lewis Hamilton that won 7 world titles.
No, he's not.
He is now Lewis Hamilton should be
he's in the Fernando Alonso realm now.
Yeah,
the Sebastian Vettel realm. He's the old gunslinger that's about to leave town for the last time.
Lewis Hamilton should be on the Sky pit wall.
He's not quite there yet. I think you're right. I think 2 more years, but fucking tops.
Yeah, I just think he's past his prime, and it's a dull buy. But then you know what'll happen? He'll get in the car, and it'll be an amazing car, and he might win that 8th fucking championship. And
he might, and you're going to have to eat your fucking words. You're going to hate it. That's like Jerome Luai going to Parramatta and winning as a premiership.
And we're going to get a nice big printout photo of it right here to go next to your Schumacher one of him winning it.
Yep. There's the 7-time world champion, and there's the 8-time world champion.
And then I'm going to have a very special video for you to put up on Rumble of me dousing it in petrol and setting that fucker on fire.
You can't. It's a present. We paid a lot of money for that.
Personally signed by Lewis himself.
Yeah. Cool.
LH44, baby.
Yeah, you ever seen the cover of the album Reload by Metallica?
I have.
Yes.
You know what that cover is called? That piece of art? Blood and Urine.
Because that's what it is.
Yes. It's ox urine, and he peed on it and let it sort of swizzle around, and that's how he came up with the artwork for Reload. Imagine
Metallica were really going through a fucking time in the late 90s.
That was Lars.
Holy.
Yeah, but you know what the cover artwork for Load was?
An actual load.
Yeah, it was blood and semen.
Oh,
it was ox blood, and then the guy actually put ball batter on there.
Metallica was just a fucking thing, because they had that, and then they had the whole St. Anger debacle.
Oh, God.
How the fuck they got through that is something.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Pretty miraculous.
Pretty miraculous, but, 8-time world champion Lewis Hamilton would,
Speaking of miraculous, we've got the drivers' standings. So, leading the championship on 51 points is Max Verstappen for Red Bull. Second place is Charles Leclerc on 47 points. Third place is Sergio Perez with 46 points. Fourth place is Carlos Sainz Jr., because they put the Junior on there now.
Why have they got Junior there? Carlos Sainz Sr. doesn't race.
No,
you can just have Sainz.
Yeah.
Carlos,
they've always had Sainz.
Yeah, now the Sainz.
Now the Junior. Well, now we have to establish that his fucking 60-year-old ex-rally champion dad doesn't drive Formula One cars. But here's the distinction.
But in fourth place is Carlos Sainz Jr. on 40 points. Fifth place.
How's Carlos Sainz Sr. going? How many points does he have?
He's got 3 World Drivers' Championships in rally, all right?
That's pretty fucking impressive, to be fair.
And 2 of them were in Toyotas.
Excellent.
So, fifth place is Oscar Piastri on 28 points. Sixth place is his teammate Lando Norris on 27 points. Seventh place is George Russell with 18 points. Eighth place is Fernando, I'm a fucking dirty driver, Alonso with 16 points. Ninth is Lance Stroll, who's back to cracking the top 10 with 9 points. And in 10th place is Sir Lewis, I'm not worth the fucking money, Hamilton, on 8 points.
And that's how many world championships he's going to have. 8.
And in 11th place is Yuki Tsunoda with 6 points.
Good on him.
In 12th place, you're going to love this one, is Oliver Behrman with 6 points.
Hell yeah.
Ollie Behrman. Shame he didn't stay in the top 10 for as long as I wanted him to.
Yeah.
And then 13th is fucking Hulkenberg.
Nico Hulkenberg.
And then 14th is fucking Magnussen.
The Haas.
The Haas is...
They're the only other people to score points.
Yeah. Speaking of scoring points, the Constructors. So first place on 97 points is Red Bull Racing.
What happened to Williams? Anyway, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah. Second place is Ferrari on 93 points. Third place is McLaren with 55 points.
We've gapped Mercedes, huh? It's only been 3 races.
Yes.
I'm happy with that.
You're more than double their points so far.
That's a good start.
Fourth place is Mercedes with 26 points. Fifth place is Aston Martin with 25 points. Sixth place is the Visa Cash App RB on 6 points. Seventh place is the Haas on 4 points. And then eighth is the Alpine with 0. Ninth is Kick Sauber with 0. And Williams has got 0.
I don't know why they're 10th.
Yeah, why did we get...
Because of the Excel story. They're like, fuck this.
Yeah, they revised it using Excel.
To the bottom.
Is it because we had a driver sit out a race?
Yes.
Right.
Probably.
Yeah.
Score a point, you won't have this problem.
So those other teams have scored more 0-point finishes than us.
Yes.
Actually, yeah, that is correct. They've had more results than you, technically.
Yeah. So that's where they are.
Ouch.
That's the way this is.
That sucks.
That hurts.
Yeah, that's
Hasn't been a good fucking... Hasn't been a good night to be wearing a Williams shirt.
It really hasn't.
Yeah.
Should have stayed at work.
But you know what it is?
At least you were here to, like, offer your insights, because we would have just ripped them to shreds with no, like, rebuttal.
They deserved ripping to shreds, but...
At least they know now. At least the whole world knows.
Everyone knows.
They
Who leaked that, do you think?
Crap.
Who leaked it, do you think?
I don't know, but he shouldn't be lynched for it. He should probably be commended for it.
Yeah, 100%. Like, do you think it's James Vowles secretly, like, we've got to get this out because this needs to change?
Yeah, it was James Vowles talking about, look, the car wasn't ready in time, and then we've had to change everything. Like, we were running fucking Excel, and Bob down the back wasn't happy because he's been using Excel for 20 fucking years. And what's this fucking new bullshit program? Like, what the fuck is this?
Well, look.
But speaking of new programs, you can follow us on some programs.
Yeah.
What a segue that was.
That was pretty class, actually.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good one.
That was a good one.
Round of applause for us.
And we don't use Excel, but we do use YouTube on the Vindicator 18 channel. Go to the F1 Chat on there, or you can go to the F1 Chat 1 on YouTube as well. We're on there. We are on the Book of Face, also known as Facebook, as the F1 Chat. You can get on there. You can hurl insults at us. You can tell me how crappy my... put a fucking chicken in, leave me fucking gay.
I'm glad that wasn't funny the last 15 times you said it either.
I know, it's great. So you can have a crack at me about that.
I have a crack at you right now.
You can shut the fuck up. You can talk to us on X.
Yeah, you can.
On the F1 Chat 1. Don't forget the 1. And you could also follow JB liking OnlyFans models on there.
If you're an OnlyFans model, you can chat with me on X.
Yes.
And if you were watching the race on Sunday, you would have got live race updates on X for once. Because the race wasn't on at 2 in the morning.
Yes.
So I was actually updating that in real time for once.
Yes. When you weren't eating your pizza.
When I wasn't eating my pizza. So shout out to Pizza Hut for a great pizza.
Yeah,
and a good
especially
Hershey's cookie.
and to Microsoft Excel for helping them out too. You can
And
also
OnlyFans. I feel like we need to start a sponsorship page here. There's at least 3 shout outs.
you can also watch the video on Rumble, the F1 Chat, and we're on the Spotify on the F1 Chat.
The F1 Chat. That is us.
That's
Right.
us.
So we're back in 2 weeks with the next race, which is
Suzuka.
Japan.
Somehow.
Suzuka.
We're going to have to figure out how we're back in 2 weeks.
Well, it's also the same day as day 1 of WrestleMania.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to watch WrestleMania live and then scoot over to this straight after.
Yeah, we're going to have to, for the listeners, me and JB are going to have alternating working rosters. So the podcast is going to go through a bit of a interesting stage of us trying to figure out how to all be in the same room at once, whether we do it.
Well, we're not going to physically be in the same room anymore.
But we will be here.
Because
One
me
way
and
or
you,
another.
whilst doing the same job on separate mine sites, are alternating 7 on 7 offs. And they don't match up at all.
I know. What's the chances, eh?
Oh, man. It's like we couldn't have just been on the same fucking...
Same roster.
So, unfortunately, when you're here, I'm away, and when I'm here, you're away. So, we're going to have to figure this out.
That's all right.
This could be the last in-person 3-way F1 chat for quite some time, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We will.
with the benefit of modern technology, we can make these things work. If you can figure out how to make OnlyFans work, and you can figure out how to make Excel work, we've got this stuff.
All you need is the security number on the back of your credit card. Mate.
That's right. So, back in 2 weeks. Thank you for tuning in. I know this was a long episode, but we had a blast doing it.
We had a lot of laughs.
Good laugh. Talking about Williams, I haven't laughed that hard about Williams in a long time.
This is a good one.
Usually they give me something to cry about.
Yeah.
At least they give me something to laugh
tears
about.
of joy instead of tears of sorrow.
Screams of madness. Like we're in a fucking alien movie. So, we're back in 2 weeks. Japanese F1. Thank you for tuning in. Fuck off.